Welcome everyone. This is the Kubeflow SDK and ML Experience call on 17th of December. As always, we're going to record this call and then we're going to publish on YouTube, and we follow the CNCF code of conduct. So just before we start, any new people on the call who do want to say hello? I think yeah, we don't have much new people. So in any case, so let me maybe share my screen so we can quickly go over the items. Yeah, first of all, I want to say we migrated to the new calendar alongside all other Qflow meetings. So this meeting will be hosted in this new LFX calendar. So we still have the same time, which is 7 a.m. PST. In New Year we can talk whether this time works, or we should have, because I remember in the summertime we had this at 8 a.m. and then after the time shift we moved it to 7 a.m. We need to probably see whether 8 a.m. still works for everyone, so folks from PST can also attend us. Um, Wondering, like, what do you think about switching it back to 8 a.m. if it works for everyone? Um, which is kind of like, just 1 hour later, like the time we have right now. Um, any objections? Like, we're gonna have exactly the same time I have like the Qflow community call, but just on Wednesday. Um, All right. In that case, I will. Yeah, let me then probably, like, I think the next meeting is 31st. We're probably going to skip it, but on the meeting on 7th, if there are no objections, we can switch it back. Sorry, not 7th, like 14th, I think, right? Yeah, 14th. So we're probably going to switch it to 8 a.m. And I think we don't really conflict with any other meetings, right? Um, yeah, because KFP folks, they meet at 10 a.m. I think PST. Yeah, so we should be fine. So if you make a note. Yes, and it's like, so for everyone else, like, because this is a new calendar, we if you can find this new Zoom link here. So it's pretty relatively easy to join, similar to other, Zoom links. You can join as a ghost, or you can register at your Linux Foundation account. And you can also register to the calls. So if you open this link for the calendar, you will see the Kubeflow, like all the meetings that you're interested in. So right now we don't really send automatic invites if you join Kubeflow Discuss, because previously we have a lot of, sending a lot of spam to people. So we just want to make sure people, like, if they're interesting to join the calls, they can register by clicking this, by clicking on the meeting and just click register, and you will get automatic invites to all of the meetings that we have regularly. And also, like, if you want to download the iCall, you can click here, which allows you to download it and add it to your personal calendar. Also will see the entire meetings. And on the left side, there is an option for you to select a committee. So this is kind of like more for you to see, like, right now we have only two committees, and we have this SDK calls and a trainer calls and a training working group, but we can think about, whether we want to use this committee. So just for you, just to group the meetings and see what is available. All right. Anything else? Questions for the new calendar, for the things? Um, Sounds great. So, similar to this, I want to remind everyone that we have this survey we're working on. We're probably going to close it sometimes in January, but at the same time, there is still some time for everyone else to, like, send this to your MLEs or to other, like, engineers or scientists who can give us a comprehensive feedback on their experience. So if you can help us to send the survey, even if don't use Qflow, that will be super helpful for us to talk about these things. All right, with that, maybe we can jump to the kill discussion quickly, and then we can talk about SDK. So Stefan, you can go ahead.
So I linked there the thread that Terry started
Hmm.
for anyone to see. Um, so it appears that there's no major blocker, at least from CNCF side. I'd like to understand from you, what are your thoughts in terms of uh, what needs to happen for us to
Yep.
actually click the transfer button? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I think, like we're relatively happy. We just need to formally get, +1 on the PR.
Hmm.
I asked Yuan, Julius, Jono, and Francisco yesterday. I think
Okay,
just need to remind them today to have +1 and -1 on this, and we can move forward.
right.
Um,
Maybe.
what is your
Uh,
timeline?
I mean, let's give us a Christmas gift.
Yeah, definitely. Um,
Um, yeah, I mean, if we manage to do it before the end of the year, then we can start in January with the proper release under the Kubeflow umbrella.
mm.
Since we're very close to uh, checking off on all of the K2O issues, mm, I, I I feel like a new release is something we can work straight away in January, and it would be great if we did that under the Kubeflow umbrella uh, instead
Okay.
of releasing before that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like, what are your plans for the release? Like, when you want to have the release?
I feel like considering where we are, sometimes in January should be okay. Others feel free to share your opinion, but um, maybe maybe we can define a timeline within January. If it's the first half, the second half, we haven't decided yet.
So, what others think? Like, like the folks who involved in Kale. Um,
Yeah, for the issues matter, I think all the blockers that we identify are solved. So talking about that, I think we are good for release. So anytime we have everything in place, we
Yeah,
should be good to go.
yeah. We just need to define to wrap up the PR to introduce the GitHub Actions test that at least on the CI part, everything is sound and solid and sound. Uh, Adriel?
Oh yeah, actually, what I was going to comment is that despite of those two tasks, that of course we can help out with add-on. Anything you need, Stefano, if you need any help from our side or review,
Mhm.
whatever, we are open for that. But in general, what we were going to be doing is like, since now all the bloggers and everything is complete, there is one more thing that we need to check about some security concerns that Rashad is taking care of. Uh, but if not, there are no other blockers. I mean, the release is there. We will keep
Yeah,
working on some quality of life improvements, maybe, or stuff that could like improve a little bit more the stuff we have. But for the release, in terms of development and code, without CI, CD, or other stuff, we think we are ready.
yeah.
So we are in a good position from January to have a release. Hopefully, if we can have also the nation first, right?
Yeah, I feel like doing it now could be a little bit of a rush to release and then maybe have a blog post or something right before Christmas. Maybe it's too rushed. But yeah, as soon as we come back in January, we can pull things together and have a very nice release, a blog post, social
Yeah,
media,
I
all of
actually
that.
probably the first time we are going to meet again is the first week of January, right?
Yeah,
So if that happens, I think that we can set up a date there all together
exactly.
to see where we
Yeah,
are, and maybe at that time, like or the next week, or but in general, we can start writing blog posts, we can start doing
yep,
some stuff.
yep,
So I think it's good, and also prepare for what's coming after to the dog, right? I think
exactly,
we need some time to gather together and think about what's coming next.
exactly. So Andre will stand by your thumbs up. Hopefully it'll come
yeah,
soon and maybe early next week or whenever.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
operationally speaking, I I mean I don't know besides entering the settings and saying, telling GitHub to transfer, I'm not sure what else I should do on my end. I'm not sure if you've ever done this, transferring a repo to the Kubeflow community. Um, if
yeah.
there's
We
some
need to.
permission I need or
Mhm.
something,
Yeah. So I mean, like I think after the transfer, you need to create the owners files and all the things we've done for MCP, like for example for MCP server for Spark history server.
Yeah,
So
I mean
owners,
that's after. I'm saying
yeah.
just to get unblocked to
Yeah, yeah,
initiate the transfer,
yeah. I think the problem would be like after you have a transfer. So we use this Pro, right, to merge the PRs.
right?
Without owners files, you won't be able to do so, right? Um,
So you're saying I should create it before transferring so
yeah,
that
we can
it's
do it
already set
after.
up.
I think we've done this for MCP Spark history server, and it was
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's like you're on the right permission, right? Like the group who can have right permission and all the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it will still be in the settings even after the transfer. So that still will
Okay.
work at least for some time. But eventually you should create the owner's file similar to what we've done here, right? Um,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, so let me follow up after this call with other members and we can just, let this move forward. Um,
Sounds great.
all right.
Thank you.
Anything else on the Kale side? I think there is one kind of question from Julius in terms of security violations, right? And about the PC, the post security standards restrictions, right?
So
Um,
we are working on that. We couldn't finish it yet because the engineer who's working on that is also busy with some other stuff. But we are taking care of that, and hopefully we will have that. Uh, well, shutdown is happening these days here here, not but in the US. So that
mhm.
will maybe slow down a few things, but we will have that by January for sure.
Would you mind adding an update, or maybe if someone in the group
Yeah,
is assigned specifically to this one, maybe let's add the assignee and an update to just so that we provide an update on this one.
of course, I will ask the engineer.
Thanks.
Yeah, let's definitely, like see, what we can have this in the next release, I guess, right? But I guess this is just a blocker from Julius in terms of including this in the manifest, and just to make sure, we have this, PCC standards being placed there. Um, all right. So other things, anything else on the Kale? We can move forward. Um, I know. So we have a few things. So before we jump to the Spark operator discussion, also like the model register, I guess, right, Matteo? You want to talk about quickly? Yeah, so I want to briefly talk about a few issues I created for um, actually a few kind of like, maybe missing APIs we don't have on SDK right now. So which kind of like I get the customer feedback that we have this in V1 and I feel a little bit kind of, we just take something from them. So they just won't get it back. And this is why I kind of created several maybe APIs that might be useful. Like first of all, I want to introduce callbacks to the wait for job status API, which is pretty straightforward. I think where you have the open PR from one of the contributors, and we also want to have this get job events API also being there. Events kind of I would say a little bit more complex for Emily. And ask this question: Hey, do we really need to explain them what are events, especially Kubernetes events? But the thing is, like, how I see this is kind of like additional observability tool on top of what we already have. Which, yeah, because like in any case, sometimes if something goes wrong, there is not really a simple way for them to debug these things, unless they go to like kube control and check the status of multiple objects. Things become much like a little bit more complex in Viv too because of job set and jobs. Because trying job creating job set and then job set creating jobs and then we're creating pods. So there are kind of four objects we need to track on. Yeah, but I think like I mean having this API might be very straightforward for them to debug those things. Um, yeah. So, and I think I also like one of the thing I wanted to use the image. We started this right on the Slack channel around introducing image to the custom trainer. Um, I think this is because in the V1, so first of all, in the train job API, there is an option for them to use to specify image as a base image. But right now, like if they use custom trainer, there is no way for them to override the image if they want to. And for that, like we created a custom trainer container. However, in custom trainer container, there is no way to propagate the function. So that is why they suggest us to add the image as an optional parameter to the custom trainer directly. And we need to probably see, if it's going to work. Yeah, go ahead, Anya.
Yeah, the image makes sense to me. Regarding the events, I'm thinking whether we will need that if we have the integration with OpenTelemetry. Is that about that?
Yeah. So in terms of integration with Oman telemetry, so how do you see this integration? Because we can have this on the CRD, also on the SDK side. So what are your initial thoughts on this
We
proposal?
haven't really went that far, but
Mm,
from what I understood is that that's gonna be integration directly with each of the Kubeflow component, like pipelines, trainer, and then there are some kind of items on the OpenTelemetry side, like trace, span, etc. So like trainer itself will need to wrap the APIs
mhm,
and then have this integration under the hood so that each of the, I don't know, like train job and all the events will be logged into OpenTelemetry. Same for
mhm,
optimizer client, same for pipelines client, etc. And then you can go to OpenTelemetry in any dashboards.
mhm. So the tracing will be on the API calls, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, some of the folks they've done integration on the, I guess, Kubernetes API direct on the CRD. Haven't really explored how this might work. Because for example, like previously we do have like the Prometheus metrics. Prometheus metrics we report, like for example, how many jobs being created. Like what about the log status I'm talking about? Let me show quickly. Um, Yeah, don't. Yeah, Prometheus part. I think we scrape the metrics directly from the training operator controller. But those metrics, we use Prometheus to scrape them. For example, how many jobs do you create, or like how many jobs have been deleted? So I think there are two ways of integrations. Like the SDK level, like I guess like the telemetry on the SDK side, and also like observability on the operator side. Um, yeah, I think like in terms of like having this. So if we need to figure out like those APIs which just expose logs or events, do we need to trace them additionally, right? Um, Yeah, I think it would be nice if you can just prepare something like in terms of initial like implementation of tracing, how it might look like, and then we can explore whether we need to like have some integration with events as well. In the
I'll
fix.
do that.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Um, yeah, sounds great. So, anything else here?
There was one more issue that I think we should do that. That was regarding the runtimes. So you proposed instead of types runtime to also um, include the string type.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, that's something that we also faced on our site in Red Hat. So it'll be good to have it in the next release.
Yep. I think it's a good point. So yeah, to specify strings, actually to reference runtime as a string. Yeah, I need to create an issue for this. I think we can easily fix it. So yeah, the kind of like the rough idea is to right now in the train API, here. So there is no way to bypass runtime as a string just because. So why we've done is because we need to get some information in terms of like the entry point command and other configuration from the runtime. That is why I ask users to bypass this as the object. But like sometimes there is no really need to bypass this as an object. They can just bypass it as a reference, like as the image, like it's the name of the runtime. Maybe you can accept both object and the image in the string together. Um, I think so. We kind of like what else I get from customers. Sometimes they want to find a way to modify the runtime. And I think this is something we can think in the future. Like, for example, one of the problems I see in the KFP and also in the train job submission, if you, for example, install packages like Python packages, imagine like myself as a data scientist, I would install, I don't know, transformers on top of the default image. We will always install it as like on each job submission. However, like if you submit a lot of jobs and like this package must always be exist there, we need to find a way how to kind of like install it only once. And like, the most obvious thing, allow them to build an image. Allow them to build an image locally and then use this image when the job has been submitted instead of installing those dependencies in the runtime. But that will also slow down the development. So I don't think we have a good solution right now how we can some sort of push those libraries to the, I don't know, runtime or to kind of some sort of stateful cluster and then give them a quick way to, iterate and submit jobs to the cluster. Because packages to install will always install those dependencies on top of default image. Yeah, I don't know if you've been on Red Hat side or like, if others actually experience the same kind of feedback from Emily's. Um, um,
I'm not aware of that, but another point is that currently in the runtimes we have either no initializers or both dataset and model initializers. So
mm.
if you remember, we had a conversation regarding that, and I've opened the issue on the trainer repo,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and there was no feedback yet. Whether we want to allow data scientists to adjust the runtime and then create either model initializer or dataset initializer.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is true. So I think this is what actually like Akshay also wants to have. And thanks for joining the call. So I know there is this an open issue to actually. So right now the train job, so there is no way for you to use initializer if runtime doesn't have initializer. So this one, and eventually we probably need to find a way if users set initializer on train job, we automatically set this on a job set. And then, this will, there is no, even if runtime doesn't have initializer, there is a way for user to, specify it. Yes, and maybe this is something we need to also take a look because I think like actually for the cache, I think those also might be useful, right? Because imagine
Yeah,
like we have a runtime without cache, right? Um,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think
mhm,
that makes sense for cache too.
mhm.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely need to rethink how we want to use the initializer APIs for
Yep.
train jobs and also for optimization jobs like we discussed. So I think, yeah, I can probably this needs some more discussion. So let me look into it.
Yep. I think the only trick is that if we allow users to specify initializer on train job and we don't have this in the runtime, who will dictate the spec? Like for example, like if you don't have the
Mhm.
specification, right? Why are we going to use default one? Um, and
I
how
see.
like what is the way
Mm,
to modify this default one, right?
mm,
Yeah, I also
makes
like
sense.
I think after so we do have this another issue in the job set which actually supporting the stateful job sets. So this is the ongoing cap we have on the job set side to support volume claim policies. So there will be a way for us to orchestrate volume claims directly from job set controller, which also will help us with initializers. Because I mean, previously, right now, like what we need to do if you want to have the PVC, we need to pre-create the
Mm,
PVC. And that will actually allow them to, allow job set controller to orchestrate PVCs. And what we would just need to do, we just need to specify the volume claim policies. Similar to like stateful set, for example, controller supports it already. So we try to do the same in the job set side. So once we
I
have
see.
this, yeah, that also might be helpful. Um,
Makes sense. Could you link this
yeah,
PR, the
yeah.
doc, please?
Um,
And you said this is work in progress, or is it
yeah. So this PR is already kind of, I mean, the implementation is working. I just waiting for a
okay?
couple of reviews. Yeah, and I think eventually, as I would, so basically this will orchestrate multiple PVCs and we can attach them to the replicated jobs,
Sure.
which might be helpful. Um, Yeah, so I mean, like, I think this definitely, I would love have to have this because then I think more users will use initializers because I think right now it's tricky. The only thing we need to consider is how to, set the who will set defaults, right?
Makes sense.
Um, all right. Anything else? Sure.
I've got a lot of issues for the next release. Maybe you can create the tracking issue.
Yeah, so you're talking about this too, right?
Yeah, I guess in 195, 196.
Yes. So
No,
you
no,
mean like
I mean
Mhm.
the tracking. Sorry, I mean the tracking issue for the next release. Kubeflow SDK to track what.
Oh yeah, 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 you're right. So yeah, the 0.0.3, right? Yeah, I mean that makes sense. So we can, if you want, we can release something in January quickly. Like, with this, because I know we have two, big caps for model registry and for Spark operator, which I don't know, like, when we will be ready to implement. I mean, just push it to upstream. So if you want, we can have it released in January with those couple of APIs. Yeah, go ahead.
One and so the previous discussion, one question regarding the metrics part. So for the train, let's say not on the operator metrics, but for the train job metrics, what is the use case to have the metrics exposed in the SDK? Because we already have some metrics. We'll be having some metrics by default on the Grafana side for the job.
Yeah, I think the use case, I mean, first of all, like, do we want to have like additional telemetry on top of the client side? I think this was the question. I think the Grafana is mostly for platform engineers. I think we want to figure out whether we need to have an integration with OpenTelemetry directly on the SDK side. Because I
Makes
know,
sense.
for
But what
example,
would be
yeah,
the Mhm.
good, good.
Yeah, so like apart from so let's say if you want to show if you want to provide metrics in the SDK integration for the metrics in the SDK,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of metrics would be good to showcase?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it depends on the persona, right? Like because I guess like for platform engineers, for example, how many times user runs some of the APIs, right? Uh,
Mm.
like just I know like I previously talked to Alex and I know like Michael, you also in the call, maybe you can also share because from my understanding on the KFP side, you've done some of the telemetry on top of KFP client internally, at least like what I heard from Alex before. Um, I was wondering if there's something also which might you want to have an upstream eventually. Um,
Yeah, there's so the thing with Capital One is that when you build it internally, you're also building walls to get you to actually upstream whatever it is that you want to add.
mhm.
So I know Alex has been actively trying to trying to upstream it. I don't know if he's made any progress yet, but yeah. I think we've seen users that like end users that actually like leverage that tool a lot. So I think they prefer the telemetry if they can.
Why? So they want to see how many times, for example, they run some APIs, or what kind of metrics they're interested in.
I think it's mainly for the stakeholders that they report to. It's kind of
Mhm.
like um, you know, director
Mhm.
plus people that want to see like the results from the
Mhm.
DS teams. It's like a one-stop view.
Mhm.
It yeah.
I see. But is it more like the number of jobs or pipelines, or versus the actual usage metrics like resource usage metrics?
So resource usage, we kind of get that from like general New Relic. So those are
Mhm.
just dashboards there, but that internal tool that Alex built like also pushes to that same source. So it's like they can have one dashboard to see everything. Um,
I see. Okay. Like
yeah,
custom metrics to the dashboard.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think I mean distinguishing those metrics, like I mean, first of all, utilization metrics from metrics that might be, like the overall telemetry, like how many jobs you create and how many jobs been deleted. I think it's less interesting for like user. I think user might more interesting into the GPU utilization, right? I think this question we get on the KubeCon, for example, like how I ensure like my my PyTorch job, my PyTorch code is like optimized to perform training, and that is why kind of integration with, for example, PyTorch profiler or giving them some other GPU utilization metrics might be useful initially. The thing
Mm,
is, like, I haven't explored on the open telemetry side, like what they allow you to do right now. I haven't really get the time to take a look on this. So, um, um,
makes sense. Yeah, I agree that the GPU utilization metric can be fairly important, but also it would be similar metrics what you would see on the
yep,
Grafana dashboard.
yep. And Grafana, like the thing is that with Grafana, it doesn't really allow. I mean, I think it would be really nice to have some sort of default Grafana dashboard for train job, and maybe you can have this
Yeah,
upstream, right? Because like
perfect. Yeah,
we can
that
just
makes
have,
sense.
yeah, instruction how to install the CGM exporter, and then just quickly
Yeah.
install the Grafana with everything. So yeah, this is. Do we have a tracking issue for this? I don't know. Let me see. Um,
Not specifically for trainer. Do we have anything specifically for other projects within Kubeflow,
mhm.
like a Kubeflow dashboard?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like Qflow dashboard. Yes. I mean, we do have Qflow dashboard, and I think we do have some integration with Grafana there.
Okay.
I just, yeah, maybe having something which, uh, some simple, a sample dashboard, which,
Mm,
like users can install and just see everything on the train job utilization side. It might be useful. Um,
makes sense.
yeah, I think this is also useful. Um, and again, like Emily's can also use it, right? Because this thing is sometimes it's helpful, but it doesn't provide, a lot of details like PyTorch profiler. That's why integration with Torch profiler, I think, might be more interesting because they can see, parallel neural network layer like utilization. And I know we have some discussions here on this thread, so we can follow up for these discussions. All right, anything else here? Sounds great. So just quickly, so Matteo, do you want to quickly chat about model registry first, maybe? Um, yeah, you're on mute, actually. We can't hear you.
Is it better now?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, sorry, sometimes the setting just changes. I haven't figured out what it is. I was saying thank you, Andre, and hi, everyone. I'm just standing in because John is on PTO right now. So I know that he has been working on this PR for a little while, and from the last thing I had with him, he addressed the comments that were raised on the topic. So from my understanding is like this actually provides surface in the Kubeflow SDK, the TPI as previously discussed. And I think that John is only looking forward to some reviewers comment and decide how to best proceed on this one. I just wanted to make sure that this is wrapped up, sort of like that we don't lose track of it.
Yep. Yeah. So I also talked to John a little bit. So for me personally, I might have time after the holidays. If folks can help us to start reviewing this, it will be super helpful. So at least like we can assess some initial thoughts. But I think overall we kind of on the same page, right? So from my understanding, from our last discussion, initially we're going to install this as extras before we migrate model registry to clients, or we could hub clients to Kubeflow SDK fully, and then we will just have the client side in the Kubeflow SDK, right? This was our, I guess, like last conversation. Um,
So to me, it's like as a first step, I think this is the most pragmatic that I see, and I think it actually sort of like covers a gap, as I believe it also for other components, and also actually we are using it to sort of like identify what are things that we can improve in the
Yep.
client. There is one thing specifically for the model registry Python client. We've been using it also for doing some orchestration work. What I mean by that is that we use it extensively in the project so that we can make sure that the server actually sort of like covers all the functionality that we want. So when we comes to migrating of the code, I would like to make sure that we are sort of like not sort of like having that one dropped, because that is the most. I have no problem sort of like in where the code resides. My main concern is the fact that if the code of the model registry Python client is fully developed in the SDK, then brings me a challenge, because every time that we want to introduce a new integration and end-to-end test, it means that people of the model registry needs to do two PRs into different repos with a different set of ownerships. And these will slow things down significantly. So
I'm wondering, so yeah. So is it the only problem with ownership? Because we can always give you the like permission, right, to approve and merge PRs. Like it's not a problem, right, as I can see. Um,
that is definitely going to mitigate that part. For the rest, we really need to do some proper assessment. That are the main thing that I see overall. So sort of like another possibility also, Andre, just I'm brainstorming here. I'm not trying to pitch one on another,
yeah.
because I think that we can discuss it in proper time. Another possibility is that currently this Kubeflow SDK is only using, I would say, a minimal part of the Python client.
Yep,
So
that's right.
the next best thing would be to say, well, sorry, another approach could be that we decide, oh, these are the only thing that we need in the model registry, and sort of like we sort of like go and make the implementation fully in the SDK, leaving the model registry Python client alone, so that we can have all the APIs that we need in the model registry Python client, so that we use it for end-to-end testing, and if this becomes a problem on the SDK side, then we can work on maintaining a specific version here. For completeness, I think that also this approach could be evaluated. But again, only for a brainstorming point of view. I'm not trying to advocate for one
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I mean, like, I think so. Again, my North Star vision here, all of the clients in Qflow should live here. Like, I understand it's tricky and it's really complex, kind of like, problem we need to solve. Um, yeah, but I still think it is possible because, again, like the ownership problem we can solve, the ability to release we can also solve. The tricky part in terms of, like, okay, how you can run end-to-end test, like you have backend side, you have client side. Like usually those things kind of, needs to be aligned. We do have the mechanism. We do this in Shiner and Katib these days, and it works for now, fine. So we don't see a lot of issues in terms of like your point in terms of, hey, like maybe we want to have more kind of extended version of model registry client, right? Like you might want to have on top, which we don't really surface from the SDK. I mean, for the long term, I don't understand I mean, I don't understand like the user motivation, right, to have two clients. Like, because, users just, they want to do pip install one package, right? And then start to using the tools, right? Um,
But for example, yes, but for example, there are some APIs that in the previous comments you
yep.
decided from the I mean the SDK working group decided not to onboard. So sort of like now I'm facing a difficult situation, because
Yeah.
if the SDK is not interested, it's fine. But from other
Yeah.
edges, we need that features, because we decided that we developed that feature. So
Yeah,
this is
it's a good point.
kind of like that kind of challenge. So in my opinion, this is from a pragmatic aspect, I would like to have more than sort of like think ahead too much. I would rather do iterative approaches, and this seems to me the next
Okay.
things to do to start. And then we decide, for example, one thing that I see, Andre, and this is more my personal opinion, will be that there are some orchestration that we do in the Python client, like we help the people to store the thing in S3 and then register the metadata in model registry. We help the people to build an OCI container image without having to have install Docker or install Podman or install whatever that maybe they
Yep.
don't have. Say in a Jupyter notebook that is running on Kubernetes, so it becomes challenging. We solve that problem. So one thing could be to say, okay, let's see this capability. How do we want to surface that one in the SDK? Is it part of the model registry SDK portion, or is it part of the SDK portion? If it's part of the SDK portion, we can also think about, more than doing an all or nothing, we can also think like, oh, the Kubeflow SDK, we decide that this capability to store the things on behalf
Yep.
of the data scientist is fully developed in the SDK, and then from the model registry Python client, we adopt it. I think that there are
Yeah.
many ways to indeed
Yeah,
go
yeah,
about.
that makes sense. I think the common functionality should, I mean, we should at some point talk about those things
Yeah,
because again, like they're applicable for like many different,
yeah.
clients, right? Um, and yes,
Say
like
for,
mhm.
say for example, the trainer, I think is like a
Yeah,
well
yeah,
checkpointed thing. So and also for sourcing the model. So say that you have a model, you want to source it in a Jupyter notebook. Actually, we can offer that capability to the SDK directly.
okay, okay. Yeah. So anyway, I think we can talk about it later. Again, I mean, I think
Yeah.
eventually just let's merge. I mean, let's quickly take a look at John PR. And I think I mean, I don't think it's a lot of controversial. I mean, what others think? Any objections? Any additional thoughts on this?
The last time I reviewed the PR, it looked really good to me. I think we are quite close to merge it. Um, yeah, regarding users and user need, I think that eventually model registry users, that will be the users of Kubeflow SDK, so we will not have like separate users for data scientists. They will be both using all of them. They will be using Kubeflow SDK, which model registry will be part of. So if there will be a need from users to have any functionality, extra functionality on top of model registry, I think we'll be aligned with you, and we're all really happy to provide that as part of Kubeflow SDK. So there's no need to build an extra client. Yeah, that's my opinion.
In general, overall, I fully agree. Thanks, Anya. And also, I will report it to John. I mean, all kudos to John and to Sydney, who also sort of like bootstrapped this at the beginning. I'm only here trying to connect the dots. Indeed, it's like I see overall that that is a sound principle to me as well, so that we avoid any kind of like divergence. The point indeed is like there are some features that even in this PR we decided not to onboard in the SDK. So it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I
we need to
think it's
decide how
yeah.
to do that,
Uh,
those parts.
I understand like understanding your point, like, but I mean, it's definitely fair. Like, we do have functionality. We don't want users to like get lose those functionality.
Yeah,
And I think for the long term, it's good for everyone. It's
yeah.
good, like for Red Hat, it's good for other folks involved because like everyone wants to have consolidations. And eventually that will be consolidation, right? Or you will migrate to the other tool. And like if
So
everyone, my kind of broader kind of, I mean, the KFP, for example, like it has a bunch of functionality, right? And the KFP migration will be really painful because like we definitely need to get alignment from those guys, to be really involved and, like to make sure we're on the same page here. But like I hope we at least, working together, we can find a way how we can, some unify. For example, like, we talk about MLflow, right? And I know right now we do have like some experiment track within model registry. So we need to find a way, like how to make sure we don't deduplicate effort, right? So we all like at least like, from the project perspective, right?
no,
Um,
fully agree. Fully agree
so,
indeed is like the one pragmatic approach will be
yeah,
indeed is like let's talk next about the storage capabilities because
yeah.
that one we have it orchestrated from the model registry Python client, but I see them living in the SDK no problem
Mhm.
overall.
That
And
makes sense.
if we agree on which one to tackle, I'm more than happy to contribute and collaborate with anyone really. So.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like, I think having this slow, small steps will help us in sort of, achieving the North Star eventually. So that definitely will be helpful. I think maybe only one question for the. I know you were doing some renaming to Hub, right? So
Yep.
you still want to have this model registry client initially, not Hub client, right?
Correct, because the hub is going to be the name for sort of like the repository, if you
Mhm.
want. We have a couple of patterns that we work on. One is the model registry. This is where we
Yep.
started. Nowadays, we are developing for the catalog. For the catalog, there is not like a client right now. So it
Mm.
will be interesting to say, okay, let's see, for example, for the model catalog, if we want to develop the client of the catalog directly in the SDK. So that more
Because
than
yeah. Go, good.
because in that case, it's only mainly, I would say, read-only type of API calls to the catalog to say, hey, which are the blessed models, which are the validated model in my organization. Okay, these are the ones that we can browse. And I think that that could be, if you want, like a blueprint on how to do these sort of like things that are move across repos. Because then I
Mm.
can see that, okay, we don't have the legacy of the integration and end-to-end testing that we currently have with the modern registry pattern client. And indeed, we can start from the ground, sort of like from the very beginning, from the first step, from step zero, indeed to think, okay, the Kubeflow SDK offers the model catalog client. How do we make sure on our side that we do run the integration and end-to-end testing with that SDK part that is living somewhere else?
Hmm.
So that's
Do you kind of, I mean, if we have this API for read only for catalog and writes for registry, why you don't want to couple them on a single hub client? Because you do have two level of authentication, like you want to separate them by different clients. Um,
because one, I would like to distinguish what is a registry pattern from a
mm,
catalog pattern,
okay.
simply because historically we found it, and indeed it's like rather than, if you want another way to see about it, is like in the model registry we have a lot of APIs, and indeed here we are onboarding only a few. For the
Yep.
catalog, we can start from the other approach, so sort of like, okay, which are the functional points that we really want to introduce, and go progressively from there.
Hmm. Yeah. Like my only question for the long term, do you see these clients being consolidated or you want to still see them separate? Um, the catalog client and the registry client.
Okay, in the longer run, if you want, what I would
Yep.
like to see is that I would like to see the SDK having a model catalog client. I would like to see the SDK having the model registry client,
Mm.
and sort of like somehow still able to sort of like have it winning, meaning that I can use it in the integration and end-to-end testing. Right now,
Yeah.
I'm not indeed just to make sure that I'm fully expressing correctly. So my main concern is not really about, as you said, also about code initiative, we can solve it.
Hmm.
The thing that we haven't figured it out how to do is that we are already using a lot of the Python code that we have
Okay.
to make solidity with the testing of the server. So if I
Yeah.
move the code, now I'm facing a very difficult challenge, because how do I make sure that in every change that we do, we are running that one and we don't
Mhm.
overcomplicate on how we contribute to the project. So
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. Like, I mean, like, I understand this point. I'm not talking about modernist client. I'm just talking about, from the user experience perspective, because like one of the, like idea we can have, and I'm, happy to chat about it later. Like, if it will be single hub client eventually, I mean, when we decide all this migration stories being solved, then we can have hub client directly here instead of having model registry client, like one of the examples, and have the model registry API under it. But do you think it will come for use users, right? You have the hub, if we introduce the hub client here, right? With all those minimal set of APIs, like, register models, um, update model version. You think it will confuse, right, users right now?
mm, I would say, I would argue, but this is mainly, I might be biased because I'm working
Mm.
on this project daily. I would say that keeping it separately actually would decrease the confusion, because
Okay.
otherwise you will find that you are pointing to an instance of either a catalog or a registry, and sort of like you try to write on it and you cannot write on a catalog because it's the system
Yeah,
admin that do that for the catalog. This is a question of
makes sense.
experience that actually I think that we can discuss. because it's arguable. It's arguable. It's like also can be exactly as you say. It's like you can have that the user try to register a model to the catalog, and then it will say, no, sorry, I'm a catalog, and so you don't have the permission to register that one. Which is
Yeah,
the best
yeah, yeah.
experience for the user, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think registry and catalog kind of stay separate, right? Like from,
Yeah,
from the architecture standpoint. They're part of Hub, but they're two different clients. So yeah,
correct.
anyway, so yeah, we can talk about it. I mean, I'm not against it. Like I just, want to, I understand like
Uh,
the experience perspective.
It's
What is,
it's a valid point, and I think that
yeah.
as you are the ML experience working group, this is something that we can discuss indeed here. But
Okay.
I would like to take it step by step, if you want.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I know we don't have a lot of time. It's like I also want to remind everyone we do have this Spark client support in SDK. And I think we kind of agree that introduce sessions initially and then support batch jobs. So again, like we probably don't need to go over it right now, but if you have time, please take a look. So this has discussion around what level of APIs we want to expose, how we want to support stateful sessions with Spark, and then support batch jobs with Spark applications, which is pretty interesting. So please take a look, and it would be really great if anyone can help us with a review of those submissions. The one thing we need to talk with Shekhar around Builder, and yeah, maybe we can follow up for this async. Yes, and I think maybe just one point around, I think we didn't talk about last time in terms of having a way to install control plane via SDK. So first of all, we might need to introduce is available API in the control plane to, because when user call client, we need to make sure that the control plane is available. Um, so this is the one thing I think we discussed before, and that will be also helpful with, for example, callbacks on the checkpoint side, like the work we do with Rob and Antonian on how to expose metrics from the transformers. Yeah, so I can create issue to talk about those things async, if that will be useful. Installing control plane, I don't know if you ever had this problem to say, okay, I want to use this client, but the control plane not available. Can I have a single API to install it? So this is something also we can talk about, because I know Q, for example, KQ project has this implementation there. So um, yeah, anything else before we wrap it up? All right, thanks everyone then for your time. I guess a great discussion. Like Matteo, we will try to follow up for this and try to review. I think it's relatively easy to go, so definitely like exciting to have this as part of next release. So definitely let's follow up on these topics. So thanks everyone. See you soon.
Take care.
Thank you.